We are live with the Commanders post-game podcast. We're smiling because we just beat the Atlanta Falcons. We are back to 500. As Brian's showing you, we are now 3-3. This was a must-win game. It wasn't always pretty, but we won it, and that's what matters. We walked away with the victory. Eric, what were your overall thoughts on the game as you're watching it?
Oh, that looked like two teams that do not have any business talking about playoffs. That's what it looked like to me. I mean, I just, a win is a win and we'll take it. But man, we are lucky that Atlanta's quarterback is terrible because that could have, yeah. I think you had a good tweet about Arthur Smith finding new ways not to score in the red zone, and it was 100% accurate. Atlanta's not a well-coached team, or wasn't today anyway, and they didn't execute well. Their quarterback isn't very good. And the same, honestly, could be said for our side. We're just slightly, I think, better at the quarterback position than Atlanta is, and I think that was the difference.
Yeah. I think, Ritter shows some flashes and some promise, and then he just makes the most boneheaded play or throw you've ever seen. That jump pass into the end zone that St. Juice picked off. I think it was St. Juice.
Yeah.
Holy
he's
crap.
He's Mariota. I mean, he's like the reincarnation of Marcus Mariota. He really is.
Yeah.
Like, you can definitely see the difference, right? Like, Sam's big issue is holding the football, sacks, right? He's not necessarily going to throw the ball into dangerous areas. Where you look at Ritter and he put the ball up, right? He got nervous, he panicked, he put the ball up. So yeah, you're definitely looking at quarterbacks, young quarterbacks, who are still trying to figure it all out. And we got the better of Desmond Ritter today. That was for sure.
Yeah, I thought offensively, Curtis Samuel had a really good game in the first half. The offense kind of disappeared from the game in the second half. And I don't know if that's just because Atlanta was controlling the ball more or what, but we had a lot of 3-and-out drives that felt like we started taking some pressure or some sacks. And I think this stemmed from that last drive before halftime when we had no timeouts and we were trying to throw the football. And it was like, don't give the Falcons pass rushers confidence. Just run the ball. Let the half expire. There's no need to do this right now. And that carried over into the second half. We never got our momentum back after that. So the enemy so far, Brian, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna come back to the enemy. Tell me what your thoughts on the game.
The game was it was better certainly than the last couple of weeks in terms of game plan strategy, right? Today, we probably had the most balance we've had all season. 22 called runs, 23 passes. That's where we want to be. When Sam Howell's throwing it 51 times, it's probably going to be a loss, right? Like, we just can't do that. Maybe he graduates to that point at some point later this year or next year, but he's not there right now. So you can't ask him to be the focal point of the offense. And we talked about in the offseason, you don't want him to be. He's young and he's learning. Let the rest of the playmakers do it. Get the ball out of his hands quickly. We've got 2 running backs. We've got 3 running backs. Use them. And so we saw a little bit of it today, but Ellie, you're right. As soon as we had success with it, EB went right away from it. And then we went back to 5-7-step drop passes, which, with Sam Howell, it's probably going to be a sack because he's going to hold it. The line isn't that great. So that's combination for Sack City right there. But you saw when you got the ball out of his hands quickly, Sam Howell was able to make plays, whether it was running outside of the pocket and finding Brian Robinson there, or, the quick passes, and with the run game as well, too. Chris Rodriguez got a couple nice carries. But EB's got to find a better way to stay balanced and keep us out of those obvious pass situations where we're 5 and 7-step drop, because that's almost certainly a sack at this point. Slightly better. It was good enough today. It won't be good enough next week. So we gotta make sure we have a better plan next week.
Yeah, I could not agree more. Chris Rodriguez Jr., 4 carries, 23 yards, 5.8 yards a rush. Gibson was over 5 yards a carry. Howe, 4 carries, 3 yards, 0.8 yards. Let's see. Brian Robinson Jr. had 10 carries for 31 yards, 3.1. The Falcons, I think, sort of played against Robinson's strengths, but I thought they did a good job on him. But I tell you what, Robinson in the pass game, when he gets into space, is fun to watch. And when he can lower his head and just blow guys off the ball, it's crazy. Like, he is really good. I really enjoy watching that. I wonder, if they can find ways to do that more. I know he's been a primary back in the screen game, and Gibson gets a couple of those too. I actually think I like Robinson better in the screen game than I do Gibson in the screen game, which I would not have thought I would say before the season started. Now, out of the backfield, I still like Gibson. I like what Rodriguez has shown, but I think EB's just got to find his balance. And what I saw, I'm so glad that we're not the Falcons, though, because what I saw the Falcons do was substitute their good players like every single play, right? At least EB keeps our guys on the field, right? Like you don't see Terry running off every other play. You don't see Jahan run. Jahan had a drop that was horrible, but you don't see Jahan running off after every play. So yeah, the Falcons are just, man, they coached themselves out of that game for sure. But I'm so glad we walked away with the W. This game will matter later in the year, folks, when we're talking about wild card seeding, right? If we can compete and we can keep things together for wild card, trust me, it's going to matter later. So this was big that we got the win. I thought and I sent this tweet out, but our D line saved us in the run game so much because there were times when Bijan Robinson was about to break it, and then you would just see Deron Payne's arm coming and scoop his legs out there. I know he's hitting the ground. So thank you for the D-line's performance today, and he came back after the injury. Payne did. What do you think about the defense in general, Brian?
The defense was much, much better, like especially from the D line, the defensive tackles. You can tell that a lot of the freelancing that they're used to having, they didn't. They just went the way that the defense was called. Linebacker play is still suspect when it comes to Cody Barton. He is late, often late, and turned around. But the defensive line, without the freelancing, they were much better. And you had to be against Bijan. Ellie, you just went through it with Bijan. Like, he's the type of guy, if you give him a crease, he can take it 60, right? And you have to be in your gap, and you have to be there every time because he doesn't need that much space to make you pay for it. But we were there most of the day. He had a couple of nice runs, but that was really about it. We did a good job corralling him, and that's the Falcons' offense. It's running with Bijan. It's throwing it to him. If they're not throwing it to him, it's just Drake London. So that consisted of their offense all day. And if you shut down Bijan, you probably are going to have a good chance to win the game. And I think Del Rio and the defensive line did a good enough job to get that win today.
Yeah, I thought Kyle Pitts was going to be a problem today because of the way that he was working us in the first half. But luckily, Arthur Smith doesn't care. He's not going to give it to him in the second half. So I don't know what they were thinking, but man, we really benefited from that. I thought, Logan Thomas, I didn't really see him do a whole heck of a lot today. I thought our line, I thought was pretty good. I mean, for what I could see, the sacks that Hal took, it was, you guys said it, the 5 to 7 step drops, right? Where he's stopping at the top of his drop and the edge rushers are collapsing. They had a couple of rushes up the middle that, that's going to happen in the NFL. But I thought the line, I saw them, switching players really effectively in the first half. I'm not an offensive line guy, but I saw them handing off guys really effectively in the first half before that final drive before halftime, which was encouraging to see. And also, we want to send, thoughts and prayers out to the Leno family as well with that tragedy that they're dealing with and him not being available for today. I thought the guys played hard for him. Eric, Space Dundee says, what's up with Dotson? I want you to answer that question, man. Is Dotson broken?
I don't know, man. It's one of those things you got to watch the all-22. I've seen a few times this year where Sam has just missed him. Like, he's just been open, but he either wasn't, just depending on the order of the progressions, he wasn't the guy. Today, obviously, he only had one target. It was a bad drop, and that needs to change. One of the things he was lauded for coming in was his impeccable hands. Like, they were, everybody talked about his great hands, but it seems like he has a drop like every week. He had a big drop on third down a couple weeks ago. And I don't know, I think it's a combination of him, him being open and not being targeted, and then him not being ready when he is targeted. He's clearly like the fourth option in this offense right now, which maybe isn't something that he's used to being. And he's got to learn how to just take the opportunity when it comes, because with Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, and Brian Robinson really in the passing game, Logan Thomas gets a lot of targets. And you see, De'Ami Brown gets more targets now than Jahan Dotson does. He also had a drop today. Yeah. But it is what it is. You've just got to be ready when the time comes. And it's hard, I think, when you're used to being the man or getting a lot of targets and when you don't see a lot, maybe just to stay focused. But boy, that was a rough drop that he had today, and that led to, I think, a 3 and out. Like, that was not a good. That was a bad situation. I mean, there's no good situation to have a drop in, but that was definitely a bad drop. He was wide open. He could have run after the catch. Sam hit him in the hands, and yeah, it was tough. It's tough, and I would like to maybe see them focus on getting him the ball, like forcing him the ball a little bit more like they do to Terry a little bit, but he's got to earn that right. If he's going to drop easy passes, it's kind of hard to justify force feeding him the ball. So yeah, I think it's a little bit of everything, but he really needs to get his act together for sure.
Something on the
Yep. All yours, Brian. Go ahead.
I was just going to say with Dotson in that drop pass, and then Eric mentioned Diami with another drop pass. Like, the shot plays are there, right? Those big shot plays to kind of keep that defense from crowding the line of scrimmage or blitzing. Like, we're right there. We keep dropping them, either whether it's just the throws too far or the receivers are just dropping them. They are taking them. We just haven't made any of those big plays. So, like, especially for the offense, if we want to get better, if we want some of the sacks to go away, if we want to be on schedule more and have better drives, we've got to start completing those. It can't just be, oh, well, the guy dropped it, or, well, it's just an inch off. Hey, that's the NFL. You've got to make those. So we've seen a lot of these near misses on those big plays. We've got to get those soon.
Yeah, and Diami's drop wasn't, I don't think, as bad. Diami's drop was partially a really good defensive play. Yeah. The defender got his hand in there on Diami's, I think it was right hand, so it forced him to go one-handed catch. It was still there for him to make a play. You still got to, if you're a receiver in the NFL, you get a hand on the ball, you got to make a catch. Again, Jahan's was just a terrible drop. There was another deep shot to Terry McLaurin on a flag route. It looked like it was just a miscommunication. Sam threw it flatter than where Terry broke. So it's hard to say who was in the wrong there. Okuda had really good coverage on that play as well, but it was one of those plays maybe Sam was trying to throw him open and Terry didn't break the way Sam thought he was going to. But yeah, you're right. Those deep balls, we've got to hit on one of those or two a game for sure. And they've been there, like you said, but yeah, we got to make those plays when they're there.
Yeah. Folks were all over Diami in the Bears game for that deep ball that hit his fingertips. I actually think today's drop was a worse drop because that ball came into the bread basket, and
it was
like, look, Diami's on the roster to be a deep threat. You got to make those deep catches. You're only getting 2 looks a game. You got to make it count, or accentuate the fact that he's holding your other arm till you get a pass interference call. It's about the skill of the position, right? There's more to it than just catching the football. He did neither of those things on those plays, and you guys know I'm a huge Diami defender. I don't think that was good enough today from Diami. Kenny Wayne says we need a complete game, offense and defense showing up at the same time. You could not be more correct. In fact, this team is like a tale of two halves every week. It's one half they're great, the other half they look like the 2022 team. I don't get it. Like, I want to see them put it all together. The potential is there, the talent is there, the plays are there, but then they're just calling them in the wrong situations, or things are just not working out. Guys are a little bit off. And it's kind of frustrating, Kenny, to be honest with you, because I think that this game felt to me like a title fight versus 2 boxers in the same weight class, right? And I felt like late in the second quarter, we had them on the ropes. They were down and out, but then we let them right back in the fight in the fourth quarter, and it was like, oh my gosh. And you started to see it on social media. Folks are like, we're going to do it again. It's happening again. And it's like, you know what? If the Falcons weren't the dumbest team in the NFL with their last, maybe 12 minutes of football, this could have been a very different game. We absolutely need a complete game from both sides of the ball. I thought special teams was fantastic today, by the way. Let's give them credit. With the Crowder return, you had the punch from Tressway. I mean, look, when we're punting every single drive in the second half and Tressway's pinning them deep, we don't win this game without Tressway today. So let's give him his props too. And I thought Slide did a good job of sending the ball into the end zone. So special teams is getting an A+ for me today. Offense and defense both get an incomplete for the overall day, but I thought they really had their moments. So.
They get see it's honestly, I think it's about time we had an uncomfortable conversation about Eric Bieniemy, because he has yet to realize that Patrick Mahomes is not his quarterback. And there was a stat early in the game. They showed Sam Howell has been dropped back to pass more than any other quarterback in the NFL this year. That you shouldn't do that. You've got a young quarterback and you've got a suspect offensive line, and you're just dropping him back. It's, several of the sacks obviously were on him today. And I think Atlanta, made a really good adjustment at halftime to just stop pressuring him because he was completing his passes under pressure.
Yep.
He struggles when you drop 7 and he has to find somebody. That's where he struggles. That's where he starts holding onto the ball. That was a smart move by Atlanta. That's something that Sam Howell has to get better at. It really, right now, it's the only weakness in his game. I think he's really has the potential to be a top-notch quarterback now. I'm not even afraid to say it. Like I was kind of hedging a little bit early on. I think he has a very high ceiling in the league, but he has to figure out how to stop holding the ball so long. And I think that comes from experience. If he just gets time to develop, I think he's going to be a legit quarterback in this league. Maybe, not top 5, not top 3, but he's going to be a legit quarterback in this league for a long time if he can just figure out how to get through his progressions quicker and how to get rid of the ball. But offensively, I mean, Eric Bieniemy called a stinker in the second half. He really did. He just brought back that stupid Scott Turner run play, the handoff to the running back and go right or left up the middle. It's just a dumb play. It shouldn't exist in the NFL. You should get 15-yard penalty just for running it. It's the worst run play in the NFL history. I hate watching it. It's stupid, and that play needs to die in a fire, get launched into the sun, do something. I never want to see that stupid run play again. His situational play calling, I think it was Ellie that pointed that out in our conversation, Jane. Like when you're trying to bleed clock and you're just dropping your dude back 3 times out of 3 and then punting is just a terrible way to do it. You take no time off the clock. Just awful play calling by Bieniemy. He needs to get better. He really does. And I would like to see him get his opportunity as a head coach, but if he keeps calling plays like this, it may come with the caveat that he has to hire an offensive coordinator to call plays.
Yeah, I've been a big Eric Bieniemy supporter, and I would have thought the transition for him as a play caller would have been much smoother, and that he would have adapted to the talent that he has. Eric, I think you're right. I think he does call it like he's got Mahomes, and it's like you don't have Mahomes, right? You've got a guy who's learning. You've got an offensive line who's average at best. And he's just not adapting quickly enough to the talent that he has. Or if he adapts, then he immediately kind of goes away from it. And that's got to change. That's got to get better. That first offensive series in the second half, right after halftime, we ran it a couple of times with Chris Rodriguez and then got stuffed. And then it was 3rd and long and it was an incompletion. I'm like, that's something you do at the fourth quarter when we're trying to run out the clock. We should still be trying to score there. Like, I don't know, what he was doing there. It was like one extreme to the other. With him. So he's really got to get a better feel for these games. And Ellie's right. The situational play calling I thought would have been better, and it really hasn't been that. So not only does the players on offense need to get better, Sam need to get better, EB's got to get better. He's got to realize, okay, I got a quarterback who takes sacks. Well, maybe 5-7 step drop isn't the way to go. Maybe let's get the ball out of his hands quicker is probably a good thing, or running the football. So little disappointed in that from EB. There's still time for him to learn because, hey, he is learning it now to do it all on his own. So hopefully he figures that out because it could have been so much cleaner of a football game on offense had we gone a little bit different direction with some of the play calling.
Fellas, what's our most effective play that we have on offense, would you say?
That's a tough question. It's not when we roll Sam out one way or the other and throw a 2-yard pass. I hate that play. No, I think he utilizes he knows, unlike Scott Turner, he knows when to utilize mesh routes properly.
Yeah.
When you've got guys crisscrossing and it opens up over the middle. Whereas like last year, Scott Turner ran that every time on 3rd down. Eric Bieniemy uses it much better, and his guys, it gets guys open, and Sam is able to find guys for the most part, be it Curtis Samuel, John Dotson, Terry McLaurin. Somebody comes open in that mesh route. Sam reads it and reads it well. And the other thing is using Logan Thomas as like a safety valve up till this week. He certainly did it well against Chicago and against Philly, but using Logan Thomas as a safety valve as a hot read looks pretty effective to me.
Yeah, well, I don't know if
that's a play call, but that's he does it well.
I don't think there's a specific play like, oh, this pass play is works every time. But I think it's a certain style of play. When we go quick game and we're moving with tempo on offense, whether it's quick pass or we're running, we're really good at doing that. When we get out of that and we're a little bit slower, or we're calling some deeper drops, we look miserable. But when we're quick pass, we're going up tempo, run, pass, the ball's coming out quick. like they look really good. Sam looks really good. When we get out of that or we get further away from that, that's when we start to have issues. That's when the sacks come into play. That's when we're punting the football. So not necessarily a play, but a style of play. We need more of that, not less.
So you know what? I'm glad I actually had the answer to the question I wanted you guys to answer.
Okay.
I'm so glad you said that. Like, dude, the first drive was quick game, quick game, quick game. Falcons had no answer for it.
Yeah.
And then we started dropping deep. It was like, bro, what happened to the quick game? It was working.
15-play script.
Yeah, the script ran out. Right.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it was. It was like, man, get back to it. Now, the answer I was looking for is our screen pass, right? We always find a way to be very good on the screen pass because there's so many different variations he implements. The problem is he wants to do like I don't know what it is, if he just doesn't want to reuse plays or whatever. But like Andy Reid in Philly, like ran the screen like every 6 plays or something like that, right? You cannot be afraid to keep going back to the well if it's working for you. Who cares about variety? Don't be, you want to look fancy. Who cares? You got 1,000 plays. Remember Al Saunders? Nobody cares about your 700 play playbook, right? Do what works. That screen game is money. Use it. Use Robinson as a screen run. Like, I love that play. Use it. Now, my thoughts on Sam Howell today, because I'll tell you this, man. I thought one thing I really like about Sam Howell, and think just because Heineke was in the stadium today, when Sam Howell is off on his throws, it's not in a situation where the defender's right there to get picked, right? Or the ball to be picked. Heineke, when he was off last year, it seemed like the defense was always there to pick the ball, but they were dropping it every time. You don't see that ball in danger a ton with Sam Howell, except for the Buffalo game. We all know what happened there. But generally speaking, when Howell misses, it's a miss that's not in danger on the other side of the football. I really do appreciate that about Sam Howell. I thought his decisions to run today weren't tremendous, but I thought when he was in rhythm in that quick game, as good as it gets, man. It comes out, it's going to the guy it's supposed to go. And generally speaking, when he throws the football, it's where a guy that he's intending to catch it can catch it, right? There's misses like everybody else. I like that a lot. The holding the ball is killing me. It's killing me in the pocket. And it's not just killing me, it's killing drives. It's killing momentum.
It's killing Sam.
Yeah. He's going
to get hurt.
100%. But, I mean, look, what are we, 6 games through the season? One thing you cannot take away from that dude is that when he gets time to throw in the pocket and he delivers the football upright, it's going to where it needs to get to, right? And Julian in a good place for the receivers. That is a very hard quality. You can't make that up. You saw it Ritter today. When he throws that football, that ball's going anywhere. He don't even know where it's going a lot of times. Sam has this
time. And that's for Ritter, that's when he has time. You still don't know where the ball's going to go.
Right now, the fatal flaw for any quarterback is taking hits. So there is still a lot to figure out about this quarterback. But he has something he can lean on. You guys always say it, like, you have to have an elite skill in the NFL to be good. You can't just be average all around and think you're going to be a good NFL player. He has an elite skill. I don't care if his arm, people, I put this on social media, like, oh, he doesn't have Josh Allen's arm. He doesn't need it. He has a very strong arm and he can get the football to where it needs to go. But the problem is he's balancing that, or even overbalancing that, with the sacks and holding on to the ball. And people, look, trashy O-line if you want to. A lot of that stuff is on Howell, and he just has to get better. We can be honest about that. Dale says, I see Sam as being a decent quarterback in the NFL. However, I'm not passionate on May or Penix Jr. at this point. Let's see how he progresses. A little too much left. So, Dale, I'm right where you are right now. And I know there's people that are on the other side of the fence that he's shown me enough. I'm okay with you saying that. I'm right where you are. Like right now, I've seen some good things, but the good news is we're only 6 games into a 17-game season.
Yeah, I think it's moot. I think it's moot because I don't think we're going to be in a position to draft either of those guys, because I think we're going to be drafting in the middle of the first round again, and I don't think that's without trading up. And I don't think either one of those guys is a trade up for guy. Even after this weekend, Caleb Williams is a guy you trade up for. May and Penix, to me, I'm not trading up for those guys.
Yeah.
Penix is shooting up the boards rapidly as we speak, en route to hopefully a Heisman Trophy. So he's going to be high up there. So if we're going to get one of those guys, we're going to have to trade a bunch of picks, or we're going to need to be really bad.
But and before we get too far ahead of ourselves, I mean, the reality is there's 11 more games to go. And if we look poor next game, we're going to be right back to where we were with we're drafting a guy next year, right after the Chicago game or whatever game that was. It's too too much football left to be live and die on one game with the quarterback situation. But I think I want to say I like what I've seen, but man, those sacks just keep me from saying that so much because it's just so impactful. But today I thought if you take away the sacks, which you can't do in the NFL, I thought he played really well, and I thought his coordinator let him down today. That's my frank opinion. Is his coordinator let him down big time. And sometimes you got to save a young quarterback from themselves, right? That's EB's not doing that right now.
I got a question. Like when we're on offense, I know we talked about some of those big plays that we've just missed out on. Is there any chance that we see Mitchell Tinsley in these next couple of weeks? Because we've seen Diami get a chance, and it quite hasn't been there. We've seen Jahan. Not that Jahan's going to go to the sideline or anything, but we've seen him miss out. And I think this offense to help, really needs to be able to hit one of these big plays during the game, one or two, but we at least got to hit one. So can you guys see, or do you guys think that one of these other receivers down at the bottom, like a Mitchell Tinsley who showed out in camp or something, because it just, we need one of those big, completions. And if Diami's not going to capitalize on some of those opportunities, somebody else has to.
Send Terry. I mean, Terry's always running from like 15 to 25 yards. Send Terry on a go route once in a while. Let's see what happens. He's done all right with those in the past. I don't know. It's got to be, it's hard to say. Tinsley is the fifth or sixth best receiver on the team. I don't know. That's one of those things where you have to watch practice, I guess, to really know where he stands. But I guess it couldn't hurt because nobody else is catching deep balls.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying Mitchell Tinsley in for Terry. I'm saying for, Diami. Like, Diami's number 4 right now. So, I don't think that's a big of a, a switch or, hey, just put him in there for a couple plays. If he drops it, all right, we know what we got then.
I don't think so. But the only reason I say that is because I don't think that's what the offense is. I don't think that's what our skills are. Our guys are yak guys, right? Throw them on the crossing routes, let them run to daylight, right? But I'd be curious to know if the deep shots that we're taking is that, Bieniemy calling those plays where it's designed deep shots, or is that how, going to his reads to the point to take him to the deep throw on those plays? I'm not going to get that question. That answer. I don't have that answer, but I'd be really curious about that, especially because we're not really connected on those things. I just wonder if, maybe. I don't know. Maybe Hal's progressions are taking them there based on what the defense is doing, but I would really like us to see just continue to pepper underneath, get the ball out quick, let your guys run. Curtis Samuel is open all day. It seems like nobody covers Curtis Samuel, but we forget about him, so we got the weapons. We got to use them. All right. Let's see. Let's wrap this up with this here. Did you guys know Cody Barton had 14 tackles today? I had no clue.
I don't care. I seriously, dude, whatever. I couldn't care less how many tackles he had, how many stupid plays. He got beaten coverage again. He had a stupid penalty. Nothing good happens with regard to Cody Barton. I don't have, I'm sorry. There's nothing there for me.
Okay. Yeah. If Cody Barton had 14 tackles, that means he probably should have had 26. Because there were too many times where the defensive line is flowing the right way and that linebacker is supposed to be there and nobody was there. And to me, that's where he's supposed to be every time, right? He's supposed to be the guy who cleans up everything. If the running back makes a move and he gets by the defensive line, that linebacker has to be there to clean it up, because otherwise you're going to get, today it could have been Bijan Robinson in our secondary loose. Like, that's not what you want. That's where big plays happen. That's how you can lose a football game. So 14 tackles, that sounds nice, but I think he's the only linebacker out there, him and Jamin. So it's not like there's 3 guys out there. He should have that many tackles a game. He probably should have had over 20, to be honest with you. I just think he's constantly late and he's constantly out of position. And I put this out on Twitter. The coaching staff defensively has criticized Jamin Davis. I don't hear any criticism coming from the coaching staff of Cody Barton. It's, we like his attitude. He's a try-hard guy. But every week I've started to see Jamin take a step. They're not big steps, they're smaller steps. Today he took another step and he made an impactful play. That interception on Bijan Robinson, that's a hard cover for him. That's a hard cover for any linebacker. And he made the right read, the right move at the right time, and made an impact play. So I need some more criticism of Cody Barton, because I'm not real sure what they're seeing in him right now.
Yeah, it doesn't say how many were behind the line of scrimmage or 6 yards downfield. And that's really what matters, because I'm of the opinion that nothing good happens when Cody Barton is involved, and nothing's going to change that.
Can we talk about Bijan on Jamin Davis, which I love the play by Jamin Davis, but the Falcons, bro, why are you running a slant when you got this incredibly fast and talented running back who can catch a ball like nobody's business, one-on-one on the outside with no safety help over there? That safety was way in the middle of the field.
Weird play call.
The announcers called
is that? Yeah. I'm wondering if it was because it was a hot read, even though Ritter wasn't under any pressure. Maybe he just got scared and threw to his hot read. But you're 100% right. Bijan had already beaten Jamin down the sideline once during the game, and that is a mismatch every day of the week. And then to throw a slant, not only to call that slant, but then for Ritter to throw it so shallow, or for Bijan to run a bad route. Maybe it could have been a bad route on Bijan, because I think you'd probably want to get closer to the line of scrimmage on a slant like that anyway. But that's a tough play call. I don't know. I'm not a fan of Arthur Smith as an offensive play caller. And I think what Washington did today was the right thing to do, which was to get up a couple of scores and really put the game on Ritter and Smith, because Smith isn't the kind of, that's not an offense that is built to put up points quickly, right? They don't come back. That's an offense that controls the game and sits on leads. They don't come back quickly. So yeah, you're right. I don't know what he was doing most of the game with his play calling, but especially on that one.
Yeah. All right, fellas, you get 3 game balls, and then give me a final thought. Eric, we're going to start with you. Give them out and give me a final thought.
I'm giving a game ball to Terry McLaurin, because he's my guy, and he had a big game. I don't know what his stats were. It was like he had 6 or 7 catches, I think, for like 80-ish yards. Great game and a great block on Brian Robinson's touchdown. I'm going to give a great game ball to dang it. Hang on. Let me get his name. I can't remember it because you're putting me on the spot. Now I got to remember this guy's name. Sorry, pulling up my player stats. No. Dang it. Where is he at? Who's the backup defensive end?
Casey Toohill.
Casey Toohill gets a game ball for me. He had a sack and really close to another sack. I think it might have been a sack, but
2 sacks. Yep.
Oh, he did have 2 sacks. Okay, I thought the one where he got across the line, but yeah, Casey Toohill definitely gets one. And I'm going to give one to Kendall Fuller. 9 tackles and a big interception on a great. He just read Desmond Ritter, made a great play. No, you know what? I'm going to take that back. I'm going to let Brian give Kendall Fuller the game ball. I'm going to give it to Benjamin St. Juste, who had a takeaway for the first time since Pop Warner football. An interception for the first time since 2007 in the Montreal, Quebec Alouette League. He seems like he's never had a turnover in college or the pros until today. Yeah. He got one gift wrap from Desmond Ritter. So, Toohill, St. Juste, and the first guy who I already forgot, Terry McLaurin. Those are my 3 game balls.
Brian? Wait, Eric, what's your final thought? Sorry, Brian.
Oh, my final thought. Again, I don't think either one of these teams as of right now has any business talking about playoff contention, because they're both not good at all.
No.
Yeah, I think Eric already gave out half of my game balls already. But no, defensively.
Benefit of going first.
Defensively, I think Jamin Davis deserves. He made a bunch of tackles, and again, he made an impactful play. This is something we've been wanting from Jamin Davis for a while. It's okay to make tackles. That's nice, but you've got to make game-changing plays as a first-round pick. He made one today. That interception was great. He played it really nicely. Kendall Fuller, I think, on the defense was great. And then I'll give the entire offensive unit a game ball. They did just enough. It wasn't great, but they did just enough. There were no turnovers, and they got the football into the end zone. and it was just enough to win the football game today. No one, I think, in particular was super special on offense. Got to be better, but those are my game balls. Final thought is the team has talent to win. They can beat people. They're not there yet from a schematic standpoint, right? The game planning from these coaches leaves a lot to be desired. Execution needs to be better from the players on the field, certainly, but this game plan has got to be way, way better and more consistent. But hey, there is talent there to win football games. So I'm excited and I'm ready for next week.
I like it. All right. Did you guys know that Jahan Dotson had no catches today?
I did know that. He's on one of my fantasy teams.
I think you guys nailed it earlier when you were talking about Jahan. I think I don't know. He might be one of those guys where if he's not catching 10 balls, his confidence goes into the gutter or something, because he seems so cold right now. And we gotta get him going.
Definitely. All right, I'm gonna give a game ball. Brian Robinson Jr., the pass catcher only, not the rusher. He gets a game ball. He was very effective in the pass game. 2 catches, 25 yards, but that touchdown was a difference in the game. I'm going to give a game ball to Arthur Smith for his stupidity as a coach that helped us out. And I'm going to give game ball. No, actually, I'm take that back. I'm joking. Danny Johnson gets a game ball. He was called in to play in the step up. Did he have a perfect game? No, but he was thrown into the mix and he didn't crap all over himself. So Danny Johnson gets a game ball. And then Deron Payne. Deron Payne was tackling these guys by just a shoestring, but he was doing it to prevent these guys from breaking open that run game. Deron game is definitely getting a game ball. My final thoughts are this. If this were boxing and we're talking about like heavyweight fights between like Mike Tyson and like Evander Holyfield, we're kind of like Lamont Peterson right now. We need to, we can compete with teams. We can compete with teams that don't do a lot offensively. And the Falcons beat themselves offensively a lot. To Brian's point, the talent is there. The talent is there. We can do it. We got to put it all together, and that starts with EB. Defensively, you saw what happened. We took Cody Barton off the field for a lot of that game. Khalil Hudson came in. Guess what? They didn't run the ball very well, right? Why does it take disaster for our defensive coaches to see what's going on and make a change? Now, granted, Barton got back on the field to get those 14 tackles, but when he was out of the game, we were a better defense. I hate to say that about anybody, because he's just trying to earn a living like everybody else. But when he was out of the game, we're a better defense. We've got to recognize these things quicker. We talked about Sam Howell getting sacked on these deep drops. Coaches have to recognize these things quicker. So to Ron Rivera's do your job statement, I think the players should put one right back on their office next week. Do your job. You have to protect these players from themselves. You've got to put these players in a position to win. Our coaching staff has to be better. We're walking away with the W. Yes, we are. We're very proud of that. But if we really want to compete for anything meaningful at the end of the year, into the regular season, we got to be better. So that's my final thought. All right. We will be back. What do you got, Brian? It says, do your job. That's right. That is exactly right. Do your job, coaches. You got to do your job.
This is the actual sign from the locker room. It's the
Don't ask how we got it.
That's how we got it.
Yeah,
all right, we'll be back on Tuesday with our normal podcast. Make sure you guys are locked in and subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Commanders Declassified. We're out. Shout out to Mike in Atlanta. He was at the game. Hope you enjoyed the W.
Mike.
Catch you next time. Peace.